Welcome to the YouTube channel My Story. I will tell you about touching and meaningful stories. I consider this a gift of life to send to you. Thank you for listening. The story I want to tell today is called The Picture of Life. In a small, cozy town in the heart of the United States lived a struggling artist named Jack. Jack was an unassuming man in his mid-30s, with a passion for painting. He had always lived in the shadow of his dreams, spending his days working odd jobs, barely making ends meet, while nights were dedicated to his true love, art. His studio was an old, dusty loft in a dilapidated building that had seen better days, but Jack didn't mind. He found beauty in the imperfections, in the stillness that surrounded him. Jack's life was simple, often spent alone, but he found peace in his art. He wasn't known to be particularly skilled, but there was something raw, something pure about his work that touched people in a way that no technical perfection could. His paintings were full of emotion, filled with the simplicity of everyday life, the kind of beauty that most people overlooked. He painted trees swaying in the wind, the quiet moments of a morning fog rolling over the hills, the fleeting expressions of joy on people's faces. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and cast an orange glow across his studio, Jack worked on a new piece. It was an image of a small cottage by a lake, surrounded by blooming wildflowers. A woman sat on the porch, her back turned, as if lost in thought, while a child played in the yard. It was simple, yet there was a depth to the scene that made it feel timeless. Jack had poured his heart into this painting. It wasn't just a picture. It was a reflection of the life he wished he could have, a life of peace, simplicity, and love. A life that he believed he would never truly experience. He often wondered what it would be like to live in a home filled with warmth and laughter, to have a family, to share the beauty of life with someone who cared. But those thoughts were fleeting, replaced by the reality of his situation. The next day, Jack took his painting to the local gallery, hoping it might be the breakthrough he had been waiting for. The gallery was small, tucked away on a quiet street, but it had a reputation for showcasing talented local artists. The owner, a woman named Margaret, was known for her keen eye for art, and she had taken a liking to Jack's work in the past. She was intrigued by his style, though she had always felt there was something more beneath the surface, something that needed to be explored. Margaret examined Jack's latest piece, her fingers tracing the edges of the canvas. She saw what he saw, a life of quiet moments and quiet love. She knew it was exactly what people needed to see in a world that had become so consumed by the noise of modern life. Without hesitation, she agreed to display it in the gallery, placing it in a prominent spot where visitors would be sure to see it. When the painting was unveiled, it quickly captured the attention of the visitors. Many were struck by its simplicity, its calmness, its quiet beauty. It wasn't a painting that screamed for attention. Instead, it invited people to slow down and look closer, to see the story in the details. But among the crowd, one woman stood out. Her name was Emily. She was in her mid-20s, with soft brown hair and deep, kind eyes that had seen their share of pain. Emily wasn't from the town. She had come to visit her aunt, who lived nearby. The moment she stepped into the gallery and saw Jack's painting, her breath caught in her throat. She couldn't look away. There was something about it that struck her to the core. Tears welled up in her eyes as she took a step closer, her fingers trembling as she reached out to touch the canvas. She stood there for what felt like an eternity, unable to move, as memories flooded her mind. The painting was almost identical to one she had painted years ago, a painting she had created with her mother before she passed away. They had painted together, side by side, on a warm summer afternoon in their little home by a lake, just like the one in the picture. Her mother had always encouraged her to paint, to find beauty in the simple things. Emily remembered how they had laughed as they worked on their paintings, how her mother's voice had been full of joy, full of love. It was one of the last memories she had of her mother, a memory she held onto tightly after she was gone. Emily's mother had been sick for years, and Emily had spent much of her childhood caring for her, trying to make her last days as comfortable as possible. But despite the pain, despite the heartache, her mother had always found a way to smile, to encourage Emily to live fully, to chase her dreams. And painting had been their shared escape, a way for them to express their love for one another, even as the world around them became darker. But now, standing in front of Jack's painting, Emily felt as though her mother was with her again. The emotions that had been buried deep inside her, the grief, the love, the longing, all came rushing back in an overwhelming wave. She could see her mother's face in the woman on the porch, could hear her laughter in the rustling of the leaves, could feel her presence in the air. It was as if Jack had captured the very essence of her mother in the painting, even though they had never met. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she stepped back, overwhelmed by the emotions that consumed her. She didn't care that people were starting to notice, that others were watching her. In that moment, the gallery, the people, the world, none of it mattered. All that mattered was the painting, the memory, and the woman who had been there for her all those years ago. Margaret noticed Emily's reaction and walked over to her, concern in her eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Emily nodded, wiping her eyes. I'm fine. It's just this painting," she whispered. It's the picture my mother and I painted together before she passed away." Margaret's eyes softened with understanding. "It's beautiful, isn't it? Art has a way of bringing memories to life." Emily nodded again, her throat tight. "It's more than beautiful. It's everything. It's the last piece of her I have left." She stood there for a moment, lost in the painting, before turning to Margaret. "How much is it?" she asked quietly. Margaret hesitated for a moment, then looked at the painting, then back at Emily. "It's not for sale," she said softly, "but I think it's meant for you. It's a gift." Emily's heart swelled with gratitude, but also with sadness. I can't take it from you. It's too much," she protested. Margaret smiled warmly. "Sometimes the most precious things are given to us when we least expect it. This painting belongs to you. It's the memory of your mother, and you deserve to have it." Emily stood there for a moment, her heart heavy with emotion. She had never expected to find something so precious, so personal, in a simple painting. But she realized that life, in all its pain and beauty, had a way of offering us what we needed when we needed it the most. She left the gallery that day with the painting in her arms, a silent promise to her mother that she would never forget the love they had shared and the beauty they had created together. The painting had become more than just a piece of art. It had become a part of her, a part of the story of her life, and a reminder that love, even in death, could still find a way to live on. Lesson from the story. The story of Jack, Emily, and the painting of life is one that resonates deeply with anyone who has ever lost someone they love, or anyone who has ever longed to hold on to a memory. It teaches us about the importance of cherishing the simple moments in life, the moments that we often overlook in our pursuit of success or happiness. It reminds us that sometimes the most valuable things we have are not material possessions, but the memories and the love we share with others. For Emily, the painting wasn't just a picture, it was a bridge between her past and her present. It was a link to the love and warmth her mother had given her, even after she was gone. In that moment, when she stood in front of Jack's painting, she realized that love is not bound by time or space. It transcends death, it transcends distance, and it lives on in the things we create, the memories we hold dear, and the ways we choose to remember the ones we've lost. The lesson here is not just about loss, but about the beauty of life itself. It's easy to get caught up in the chaos of our daily lives, in the rush to achieve, to succeed, to be more. But true fulfillment comes not from the things we accumulate or the goals we achieve, but from the connections we make, the love we share, and the moments we take the time to truly appreciate. Jack, a simple artist with no grand ambitions, found peace and purpose in his work. His painting, created from the depths of his own longing, ended up touching someone else's life in a way he never could have imagined. And in doing so, it reminded us that we all have something valuable to offer, no matter how small or insignificant we may feel. In the end, it is the simple things, the quiet moments, the small acts of love that truly define our lives. And it is these things that, like the painting, will remain long after we are gone, living on in the hearts of those who loved us.